All right, looks like we're recording there. We're recording here. We're distributing to everyone.
Heck yeah. All
Here
right.
we go.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. What is up, everybody? This is PA from the Cafe Moto podcast. Today, to my left, I have my brother here,
What's up, it's Manny.
Big Manny, and my other left.
Other left. Yes, sir.
I have one of the greatest Florida realtors that
Thank you very much.
you have ever encountered. This man specializes in something very unique in the car culture, and this is Ryan.
What's up, everybody?
Ryan
Thanks
is
very
from
much.
the Redline. Is it Realty Group or just Redline Group?
Redline Group.
The Redline
Yes,
Group.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So
Thanks
we got
for-
a special guest in the house. He is a legend in his own right. Has had some legendary cars too. We'll get to that. But yeah,
Thanks.
Cafe Moto podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for the old fashions.
Oh, yes, sir.
These
Thank
are
you so
amazing.
much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So if you hear us drinking,
Yes.
is what it is.
Little whiskey.
Yeah. So we'll kind of get a little icebreaker. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Like who you are, what do you do? We've kind of already talked about it with the Redline Group, but
Of course. Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So been in Tampa now about 7 years, I guess now. Originally from St. Louis, lived in Portland, Oregon for 12 years, then down to here. And yeah, been doing this real estate thing for, this will be year 4. And yeah, like you said, kind of specialize in working with, car community. It could be anybody that really needs extra space for their toys.
Yes.
Florida, I say Florida's, very active lifestyle,
Oh, yeah.
outdoor lifestyle. People
Yeah.
got boats, they got motorcycles, they got side-by-sides,
Jet skis.
cars, jet skis, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
Even horses and things like that. But really, my biggest connection is car community. I'm a car guy. I originally was with another real estate team that's based out of Michigan called Gearhead Homes. People might have seen them. And I was with them for a little bit. And then after that, I kind of just decided to, create my own vision. And I appreciate everything that I learned with those guys, but wanted to really kind of, do my own thing and kind of create a different vision and different brand. So that's when I kind of started this and been doing it for, for a few years now. And I love it. I love what I do. And it's super fun. So
I can only imagine
Yeah.
having houses, or I guess I shouldn't say houses, more so a property thing, but
Mhm.
having properties for people that have or coming together and getting properties for people that have their fun thing. Like I feel like they just kind of would always be happy
yeah.
to work like that. That'd be a fun buying process, especially for the guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for the guys.
I think too, one of the cool things is that maybe people didn't really, maybe people have had a vision of like, oh, I'm always going to need more space for my toys, but maybe didn't realize that there is a place or an outlet to that we can help them with. That when we share, try really hard to use our social media to sort of share what's out there that's available, what kind of houses that are out there for people that need space for their toys. They're like, I had no idea these houses were out there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's a way that I try to create value that way. And like, hey, these are out here. If you're looking for it, you just
Yeah.
and the reason why I do this is that other realtors, they don't really pay attention to that sort of part of it.
Yeah.
It's like if you were to go to sort of your regular realtor, they're like, hey, I need a house with 6-car garage. They're like, what? You know what I mean? I thought a 3-car garage was fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if we can show that those properties are out there, those houses are out there, and there's somebody there that can help you and understand like what your needs are for that,
Mhm.
then that's
Absolutely.
that's cool for us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Since you said, "Oh yeah, I need a house with a 6-car garage,"
Mhm.
because I remember when I was trying to look for a house, like plenty of moons ago,
Mm-hmm.
I would look and like for garage space, it would say like I think it would max out at like 3 or 4,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like you couldn't really find anything, or if you did find something, it was like multi-million-dollar houses.
Right.
And I don't make multi-million dollars, so it's like it kind of like caps you at the 3 car garage
Right.
tier
Well, that's
or
the thing
whatever.
is the most of the public sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, you're pretty limited on what you can search for those for that kind of criteria,
Yeah,
and so I spend a lot of time on the MLS. You know what the MLS is for, where you would get listings from the realtors, and I spend, hours
yeah,
in figuring out ways to find these types of houses, because it all depends on how if I'm working for a buyer, all depends on how the listing agent is advertising these, or
yeah,
putting these into the MLS. So I spend a lot of time, digging for these types of houses too. So yeah, it's definitely harder for the public to kind of find these, because this
yeah.
public sites don't really have that kind of.
It's almost like a needle in a haystack kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I want land, but a shop, but
Mm-hmm.
A house.
a house,
Yeah.
but something that can fit 6 cars. No one's gonna like type it in that way
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
MLS. Like as far as a seller's agent,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they'll type it in that way.
Well, you
So
also brought up a great point too, is that, yeah, there's houses out there that are, one, two, three, $4 million houses that maybe have a 4-car garage or a 5-car garage,
yeah,
but not everybody wants or needs or can afford a $2 million house. They're like, I'm fine with 1,500 square feet house
yeah,
Right.
or a 2,000 square foot house, but I want 1,200
yeah,
square feet of garage. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
yeah. That's a good point.
So, you know, I've lived in a big house, and I've also lived in, smaller houses, and
Mm,
something to be said about just having only what you need
yeah,
for a size house, and not have to
that's true.
spend
Yeah.
that much.
I've
That's
always said
true.
I wanted a 1 bedroom, 1 bath,
Exactly.
17-car garage, and I'll be fine.
Well, we've seen you've seen those memes or those photos on Facebook. It's like a drawing of a floor plan. It's like you say, it's like a 1 bedroom house, and then the rest of it is just a giant garage space, for
Yeah,
15 cars. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
yeah,
interesting.
so
That's interesting.
so yeah, you're right. It's not everybody, even if they could afford a 4,000 square foot house, especially as people get older, their kids grow up. They don't
Hmm.
want a 4,000 square foot house.
Yeah,
You know what
it's
I
just
mean? They
them.
want 2,000 square foot house, but they
Right.
want the garage space. So
Hmm.
Exactly.
That is true.
And I
yeah.
guess you answered one of my questions I had was, how are you getting these? Because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I've looked and it's hard to find. You said it's like you can only search by like 3-car garage or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
I've gone and looked through like LoopNet and like
Mm-hmm.
try to find commercial properties that
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
But so I
But
guess
then
one of
you're
my
looking at
questions,
commercials.
exact, and
Yeah.
then that goes into the multi-millions as well.
Right. Right.
But so I guess one of my questions was, how are you finding these? I didn't understand how you were doing that, and if you were buying them and flipping them, or
Yeah.
or buying a property, building it up on top of it, or
Mm-hmm.
so you're actually finding them that are
Yeah.
already
I mean,
done.
there are, the biggest way that you're going to find stuff in for buyers, or again, if I'm the listing agent, I'm going to make sure that I'm hitting all those keywords and criteria that allow a buyer that can find it. We want them to find these properties, right?
Right.
So, but if I am the working for the buyer, I am dependent on how the listing agent is putting them into the MLS. But we've got, I usually do 3 or 4 different searches for my buyers, so I can find everything. And maybe they all don't match the
Hmm.
criteria for the buyer, but I'll find more options, and it's mostly just the way they different. It might be called a pole barn or an RV garage.
yeah,
Might be uh, you know just maybe they call it 6+ cars or something like that. So there's just different ways we can. I'm not trying to give all my secrets away to other realtors out there, but uh, but that's the way that's the way that I do it. Yeah. And then
Gotcha.
also, like you said, that maybe we can't find, because we are looking for unique properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Um, so the other option is what I ask people is like, hey, if we can't find this perfect scenario with the shop and the house that you want, are you open to finding the house you like and the location you want? And
Mm.
we look at the type of lot that maybe you can put a shop on
Shop on, yeah.
down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the process of building a shop on my property right now too. So I find that's hopefully will also add value to my clients too, because I'm going through the process of what it takes
Yeah.
to, to go through the process and have some contacts too in the area, because I'm using a
Yeah.
local metal building company, and sort of understanding the timelines and permits and and
Right.
all that,
All that fun
and
stuff.
different contractors, concrete and
Yeah.
electrician and the
Mm-hmm.
metal building company, everything like that too. So,
Hmm.
um,
We are
but
in Florida. I'm sure time of year takes a toll as well.
yeah,
Especially
exactly.
after
Hmm.
hurricane, material price hikes,
Well, that's what we're
tariffs,
looking at, tariffs
all
now,
this
possibly
stuff.
on metal. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm hoping. I just got word that my the company called Tubular Steel Buildings in Central Florida, they gave me a timeline for March 3rd that should be delivery and installation. And once the slab is up and everything, it
Mm.
they put that building up in like 1 or 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
depending
Yeah.
on the size. But I'm just hoping they don't give me a call and like, hey, by the way, your the cost of your building just went up, 25%. They haven't said that yet,
Yeah.
so hopefully I'm locked in my contract and that won't
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
yeah, like hurry up and get that delivered before this goes
Like, does
down.
that tariff go into effect like
Yeah,
immediately,
yeah,
or is there
exactly.
like
Or
a
Yeah.
90-day
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah,
hold on this?
exactly.
Huh. I didn't even think like I didn't even think about that, how that could affect
Mm-hmm.
things these days with the tariffs. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like that makes it even harder, or makes maybe even makes those homes, and I might be shooting from the hip, but those homes that already have the shops and stuff like that
more desirable.
more desirable.
Could be.
Yeah.
Or
Mm.
could be. I mean, I would definitely say it's most likely cheaper to buy the house that already has the shop on it than to
Yeah.
build it from scratch, because you're not going to get 100% ROI on putting up a building.
mm-hmm.
You
That's
know what I
true.
mean? So you're probably
That's
better
true.
off.
Then there's also some people like myself that like I just don't trust anyone. So like,
Mm-hmm.
do I know that the shop was put?
Mm-hmm.
Do I know that it was put on there correctly? Do I know any of that? So it's
Right.
like you kind of have like that sort of like, I can breathe easy knowing that it's
Something
up
to be said for that
correctly.
too.
Because what's his name? Evan Shanks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever watched him with,
Mm-hmm.
what was it, the Shank Shack or whatever it's called, but he had a shop put up,
Mm-hmm.
and like he's in Texas, and like whatever floods and all that stuff happened,
Mm.
it like it didn't destroy his shop, but like it flooded it
It was a lot of
where
damage.
it shouldn't have. Like,
Mm.
and all the stuff that was put in that property, it definitely shouldn't have flooded it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that's scary,
Yeah.
with not seeing how it was designed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about you designing and knowing the size and the layout and how it sits on the lot and everything the way you want it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Some people, but the other part of that too is that when you buy a property that has the building on it, you're financing that whole thing, so you don't have to have that other cash.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
exactly.
if you're buying a house and then you'd have to go put uh, the building on. I mean, I think there's financing options for those buildings, but I think most of the time
Yeah,
you're going to need 40 to 80 or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
thousand.
It's not
On top of
necessarily a
your
second mortgage, but it's like it's
Yeah,
a second loan.
you're going to
You know
need
what I
you're
mean?
right
going
after
to
a mortgage,
yeah,
a brand new
Exactly.
mortgage.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Where your credit's already taken a pretty decent
Mhm.
hit and everything.
Right. Yeah,
So
so it's probably for people that maybe don't have that cash on the side, probably
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
um a little more approachable to do it if you already got the building on the
Building already
property.
up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. So what would you say is like the idea of like the perfect garage setup?
Boy, that's a great question.
Like when you're looking for a home, I guess it depends on your clients, but
Mhm.
like, is there like a basic like this is the perfect garage setup for anyone, and this is even better for you because like maybe you have an RV or something like that and
Yeah.
it has 220. But what would you say is the perfect?
Man, well, the I think the sentiment is whatever size you think you want, it needs to be bigger, and always
Yes.
always go bigger, and
Yes.
that's
That's
the
a pretty
that,
good rule of thumb.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of Facebook groups that I belong to. I don't know if you're on any of these, like average middle class garage goals. That's a great one.
I need to write that one down.
You should
I'm
go.
gonna check
Everybody,
that one
all
out.
car guys should belong to that one because it's hilarious. Because again, the name is average middle class garage goals, but you would be surprised what kind of
Stuff
setups
comes
these guys. And the running joke is like, I'm in the wrong group because if this is average middle class, and the joke is like, okay, you need a Viper. A Supra,
Sheesh.
maybe a helicopter pad. You know what I mean? Like,
man.
and they're decked out, and then you got guys that they gotta they're lucky enough to have a 2-car attached garage and maybe a 2-car detached garage,
yeah.
and like, hey, they're like, that's all that's what I can afford, and that's what I got, and I'm happy.
Make it work.
Make it work.
And
yeah.
they deck it out inside, with the floor coating and the lighting and workbenches and stuff like that. So, what is like garage goals? I mean, it really depends on your budget, and what you plan to do. Like some people, all they're going to do is store cars in it. You know what I mean?
Can't be
And they
that.
got
I wish I could be that type of person.
right.
I wish.
Right.
I can't.
You can't be. You need to wrench on your cars.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah.
That's my piece.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like sometimes you see pictures of guys that they're just storing their cars, and maybe they got a 4-post lift, and they're stacking cars, and every once in a while they'll pull one out and dust it off, and then some guys are like, and those places look like a showroom. You know what I mean? And then you got other guys that are like, it's not pretty, but they're wrenching and they're welding and they're doing engine teardowns and all that stuff. So it kind of depends on what you want to do and in your space.
So there's a pretty wide variety of what your customers want or your clients want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the other thing too is like, it depends on what kind of neighborhood you're in too. If you're in a neighborhood that garage needs to match your existing house, because either the HOA requires it or the county requires it. It needs to all look like one cohesive property. And then you got other guys. Most of my clients probably would say they want to be in no HOA.
Yeah.
They want some land.
Yep.
They don't want anybody telling them what to do with their property, and they can put whatever kind of building. They put a metal building or a pole barn or stuff like that out there too. And so I tell you that, I mean, different strokes for different folks on these types of things.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
You're hitting all my questions early.
Well, I got a question for you. So can I throw it back? Can I throw it back at you?
Go ahead.
What would your sort of garage goal, your goal garage look like for what you do in your garage?
So I am terrible with measurements, so forgive me. I don't know.
That's all right.
I need a 20 by 20. Like,
No, go
I'm
bigger.
terrible
Just
with
saying.
that stuff.
It's like go bigger.
But I will say something you said earlier kind of like piqued the interest. Like I would want to have that like 2 to 3 car attached, and then a detached for the shop and all that stuff attached, so that way significant other can pull in.
Florida downpour.
If it's raining, they can pull in versus having to deal with the rain and all that stuff.
Right.
A garage that doesn't have the washer and dryer set up in it. I realize I really hate that.
Yep.
Luckily, my house is not like that now.
But most like new houses, they don't do that anymore. That was like an older house thing.
But the one good thing about older houses was because people had like Lincolns and Monte Carlos, stuff like that. they were long.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen some people that have a 2-car, but it's really a 3-car. Like one side of it goes deeper.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Oh, like a tandem. They call it like a tandem
Yeah,
garage.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't know the correct names.
Yeah.
Imagine if I was a realtor and I put that in.
Yeah.
But if there was like I guess a 4-car tandem. I don't know if that's how you word it correctly.
Yeah.
But if it was just like 4-car deep, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then the detached, I would like to at least have fabrication station for motorcycles, of course, and also like chassis or frames for whatever car I have at the moment. But lifts, I would at least want two, two posts and 1 4-post. So whatever garage can fit all of that.
Right.
And then there's bikes for future projects, and then toys for the kids. And I refuse to buy a boat, but I will buy jet skis. The best thing
I got
for
a jet
boat,
ski. Yeah.
the best thing for a boat is like having a friend that has a boat.
That's right.
So I refuse to buy a boat, but I'll get jet skis. So something for all that. And realistically, those don't have to be in the garage. It'd be better to keep it out of the elements, but just like I have now, you can put it outside, and I can just put a pad outside too, and kind of like
and an awning maybe or something.
Yeah. So
they call it like a lean-to, where you got that extra kind of carport that's coming off of the the side. You can put your trailers or boats and things like that out there. It's covered, but it's not like enclosed. Right?
It just won't get leaves and all that stuff on it.
Florida sun does a lot of damage to things too.
Exactly.
Yes, it does.
But you made a good point too about having the attached garage, because like you say, it's not everybody wants to have to, walk their groceries in from the, if they want to pull into, exactly. And then too, like when it comes to like, if you're going to be making a lot of noise or doing fabrication or, who knows what you're doing, banging on, big hammer, you're trying to, do whatever. You don't want the noise also in your attached. You want to go out after, you put the kids to bed or whatever, and you want to go wrench or whatever. You don't necessarily want to be making a bunch of noise, or maybe you got the music playing or whatever. And you don't want it under your attached garage, So there's lots of reasons why that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's some rapping.
I will not do any rapping, sir. But we're recording, had to get some drinks and had some technical difficulties, but we are back. We are back. And I think it was just really the camera saying like, all right, PA, we're done with you talking. We want to hear from Manny. So we're going to pass it to Manny and see what his dream garage would be.
So I have no desire to have a house. I don't really care about living rooms and kitchens and all that. Like, I know I need it. But in the past, I've lived in studio apartments, or like I've always lived with like friend because I don't really care. So I would get something that looks like a warehouse and just build a little room, little stove. I don't need much. And I want enough room to where I can have separation, to where if I want to weld, I can do that over there. If I want to paint, have a paint booth. If I want, I would love. I'm a huge
paint booth would be cool.
Yeah. And you need ventilation for that. You need certain aspects for that, different lighting and stuff. That needs to be enclosed. But I'm huge into video photography and everything. I would love for my dream garage to have like a little one of those cyc walls. They're called cyc walls, where the floor just like goes into the wall, like on a curve, and then so I can do photo shoots of cars there, like a big enough space to roll in a car.
I know what you're talking about,
with an all white backdrop or whatever, and just still be creative in that aspect.
Gotcha.
I think Spirit of the 90s has that. That's whenever I went to go pick up my Chaser, they were like shooting another car, like a Supra or something like that.
Gotcha.
I was like, that is a lot of white.
Yeah.
That's one big white sheet.
To me, that's cool. I would love that, something like that. Even if I have to build that part, but enough room to build it,
Yeah.
So if I can ask, so your bike, like your passion is motorcycles.
Right. Well, I love cars. I started off cars and everything. But I'm in the motorcycle industry as my main job, and I love bikes, old bikes especially.
Okay.
But
Yes, sir.
so I don't need too much room for the bikes,
Mm-hmm.
except for when it comes to like storing them,
Yeah.
and storing, parts for them. But
But you're still gonna have a couple cars in that
oh
garage.
yeah, I still
At
need at
least.
least what he said, like 2 lifts at least, or
Yeah.
one, at
Yeah.
least one lift, at least.
Yeah.
But the motorcycle lifts, I can get those in the same space that you put a motorcycle or you put a regular lift. You can put
Mm-hmm.
what, 3 motorcycle lifts in the space it takes for
Oh
one car
yeah,
lift.
yeah. And then they also have like the little jack lift too.
Mm-hmm.
But I
I
want the
never
full
trust
table.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I want the full lift table
makes sense.
for the motorcycles. So
So I kind of have an idea of like, you know, within reason, like what a normal car guy would have, how many cars, but like how many bikes does a bike guy want to have?
I would say it depends.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of bike guy are we talking? Are we talking collector? Are we talking
you got to remember
builder?
especially like some of these bikes you can buy for like $1,500. So
Right.
for the
Right,
same
right.
amount, you're buying an Evo. You buy one Evo. What? That's
Yeah.
15 grand, 20
Yeah.
grand.
Yeah, you,
You
can
can
buy
buy-
like 100 bikes.
Yeah. Right. True.
So, I mean, and you're looking at someone that like, for the most part, most bikes that I buy, I want to say I try to make it a point for it to be like $500 or less.
Really?
Yeah, $500 or less.
I'm gonna
It's
be on
usually
Facebook Marketplace later tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Have another.
well.
coin.
What's hard is like the titles.
Mm.
For the older something is, the harder it is to find the title
Really?
for it.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the key word I look for all the time.
Yeah, when they say
Clean
no
title.
title, it's like man. Like,
So if it
and
doesn't have a clean title, like what?
It's just more hoops you have to jump through. I know Florida has a specific like way you can get a title, but it's just
yeah,
it becomes pricey and
yeah, and it's just not as easy for the most part. Like,
Do they have rebuilt titles? Because that's the other thing too. We always see rebuilt titles, salvage title, or a lot of times we see rebuilt titles for
cars and stuff.
Cars.
Yeah.
Is it the same for bikes too, or not?
I haven't seen a rebuilt title.
Or it's just there's just no title for a bike.
Yeah, it's just been it's.
yeah.
You also got to think like he and I are looking for bikes that are like in the 70s,
Right.
and in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you did have a title, it's like it's like 8 up or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be that Vermont little loophole. The same with cars. They had it for bikes too, but once they shut that down, it was like I haven't found a way to get around it. And even if I did, I wouldn't share it. I wouldn't. I
So
would
I
keep it to
wonder-
myself.
If that's the, I wonder if that's similar to, because I have a side by side, and you know, in Florida they're not technically street legal. You can't get them street legal. You can't get them registered.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go through you get an LLC, you register it through the LLC, and you license it. I think Montana is one
Montana's
of
the
the
big
biggest,
states.
the big one. So everybody is like they get their blinkers and their headlights and their what and DOT tires, you know, and then they go through this Montana tags. That's one of them, you know, and get a registration.
You have to
You
bring it
still-
up there?
No.
Because they don't do inspection or anything.
Yeah, and so they, you know,
That might work.
you still might get
I've-
pulled over.
I don't know.
You can try to show it to the cops if you do get pulled over. Sometimes they'll be like, well, I don't know what else to do. Go ahead. And
Yeah.
sometimes they're like, this doesn't fly. We're gonna go ahead and take this with us.
This is
Yeah.
ours now.
And exactly.
Yeah,
You'll
you can
figure it
figure
out
that out
later.
later.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I'm not too sure if the Montana rule works for bikes or not, or side by sides for
Yeah,
that matter. I
yeah.
don't know.
yeah.
Be interesting to find out though.
Yeah.
Gonna have to look that up.
But there's a
Yeah,
whole
for sure.
Florida street legal side by side page, and I'm watching people driving
Really?
their giant, you know, Razor Turbo R. You know, I mean, these things are
They're like car size.
they're like cars. Yeah, basically. I
Yeah.
mean, those things are giant. You know, and they got big
Yeah.
40s, 40 series tires or whatever on them.
Yeah.
And they're just driving around on the street.
When I went to Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that these guys like driving on the street, and I was like, "What the heck? Like, you could do that?"
Yeah,
here?"
yeah.
And but I mean, I'm not gonna stop you. You know,
Mhm.
I'm a tourist.
Right, right.
You know,
Well,
what I
there's certain
mean?
states like we were in. Speaking of like North Carolina and stuff, I went up
Mhm.
to first year. I went to the Miatas at the Gap. I'm a Miata guy. If that hasn't come out yet,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
up
we
to the
got to
Dragon.
get there. We got
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
there.
We're gonna get into cars, right?
Yeah.
And in Tennessee, I guess was that Tennessee or was that North Carolina? But they're street legal there, and
Yeah,
so
I was about to say
you
it
can
depends on what
drive
side.
side by sides all around. And I was like, God, I wish.
It's probably Tennessee then. North Carolina's
I
strict.
think it is. I think it is
Tennessee,
Tennessee.
they don't care about anything.
Yeah.
Proud Tennessean here.
Exactly.
I,
And where you from?
I'm not from there, but my area code is still Tennessee.
Okay.
And I like for tax purposes and a bunch of stuff, I
Yeah.
still am a Tennessee
Okay,
resident. Like
okay.
I have kind of both Tennessee and Florida, but
Dual citizenship.
benefits of
Yeah.
Uncle Sam.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think it was on whatever ballot this last election to try to get side by side street legal, but it was
I
turned
don't see
down,
that.
so.
Yeah, I don't see like
I
it
feel like
sounds cool, but
I feel like we should. We're Florida. We're
But
supposed to be the
also,
America of
Florida's
America.
a little wild too.
Yeah. That's what I'm
As soon as
saying.
you do it, there's
Yeah.
gonna be wild side by side.
Exactly.
like
Imagine all
gangs.
those side by sides on the highway.
On
Yeah.
I-4, just
Yeah.
mobbing I-4.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was the other restriction too, at least in that area, was that you can drive them, but you can't drive them on
Interstate.
interstates
Yeah.
or
Highway.
whatever highways that have like speed limits over 55 or 65 or
Oh,
whatever
okay.
it was.
Makes sense.
So,
Then.
I mean, these are not built to withstand
No.
No.
accidents,
Not at
and,
all.
any sort of crashes. And
Yeah,
stuff,
the
so-
minute somebody like gets in a wreck,
Yeah.
a serious
Yeah.
one, it's gonna be like,
You're
why
dead.
the hell do we let these?
Yeah,
why do we let them
exactly.
do this?
You know they're going to
But
do it.
I would say like between Florida and Tennessee, I would say Tennessee is more American than
Ooh.
Florida.
I wouldn't
to
put it past.
be honest, like
I'm just biased. I love Florida.
yeah, Tennessee is definitely like I could call and have like my brother register my car and stuff like that. I'll call them. They're like, "Yo, thanks, Suge. Da da da. Here's the plate. It's gonna be $20." I go to Florida. They're like, "Here's the plate. It's $495."
That's more American than capitalism, bro.
Yeah, but like I could see, but I will say in Tennessee, you wouldn't see people riding those side by sides like on the highway because they just know better. It's like this is common sense. We're not gonna ruin something nice that we got.
Yeah.
Florida, I
Let's
can do what I
ruin
want.
that.
I mean,
I do what I want.
America.
There's already takeovers of dirt bikes and four wheels.
Exactly. Why would you add to the fire? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
I don't know. I mean, that stuff. I think that stuff happens like in the cities, not necessarily in the rural areas, right? Like
Rural areas. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Like.
There's kids driving out in rural areas.
Yeah,
And they don't care.
it's the
No.
cops' kid, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
That's doing it.
Yep.
Cow tipping and all that, which I have done that, by the way. It is like the weirdest
In
thing
Tennessee.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say I did like some real like labor when I
Mhm.
when I lived in Tennessee.
That's
like,
good.
Tobacco,
Yeah.
some farm work,
Mhm.
stuff like that. All of that I did, and I moved to Tennessee from being in Atlanta. So I was just like, this is a culture shock if I ever seen one.
Did you enjoy like being more in the like country areas? Or like,
I did. Time for me to go to work.
you
I
are
want to
working.
say
What are you talking-
exactly. I want to say that I did enjoy. I enjoyed it now more,
Right.
or I enjoyed it more now that I'm like older
Looking back.
I
and
think
looking
that's
back
common.
at it than I did when I was there. I mean, I had like a little girlfriend and
Mhm.
everything when I moved, so I
Yeah.
was just like, "Man, you're taking me away from the love of my life."
Yeah.
And da-da-da. You know what I mean?
Sounds very
and
familiar.
yeah, and then being Atlanta's huge. You know what I mean? That's all I knew.
Yeah.
That's where I was raised and everything. So, and then moving to like a small town, not even
How
just
old were
like
you when that happened.
I was a junior in high school. I
had
was
the-
like old,
nearly the exact same experience too.
and I was just like,
Yeah.
what?
Mhm.
Like Tennessee? And then I hear them talk, and they're like, way behind in like fashion stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, what?
Yeah.
But I will say, I was always into cars, and this will transition us to the next topic. I was always into cars, and but I could never like put my hands on anything because, I mean, no one really had cars.
Yeah.
Like
In
we all
Tennessee,
rode the like bus, or like we walked or
Yeah.
rode our bikes.
You're in big city,
And,
right?
Yeah, in big city
Yeah.
in Tennessee. Of course, at the time, I'm able to drive now legally, and but like people got Jeeps and like 4-wheeling, mudding, all this other
Trucks,
stuff.
big
Where
trucks.
lifted trucks or
Yeah.
whatever, and I am introduced to Auto Hobby Shop, and boom, now like my car
All of a
like
sudden, your passion.
lenses
Yeah.
are like, what?
Yeah.
Like there's more than just wheels and neon
Sound system.
and sound systems. You know what I mean? Like what? There's more stuff that you could do.
Yeah.
And
And then right at the right age too, because
yeah, exactly at the
driving.
right age.
Yeah.
Well, so in Atlanta, I did like some program where you can get your license early. So I had my license at 15. So when I got there, I already had my license. A lot of people there didn't have their license because they were like, when they were younger than I already was, they were drinking, driving,
Yeah.
doing drugs and driving. All that part was like kind of bad for like drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But they were doing all the stupid things and driving. So it was like, you can't even get a license till you're like 22. So don't even think about it. So when I got there, they were like, they called it L's. Someone that got his L's? What? Oh,
Can you drive us
yeah.
around everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. And so I met a lot of people just from just driving. I probably did some driving that I probably shouldn't have, but
all
like,
did.
you know,
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
But that was where I got introduced to the Mark III Supra, which then became like my hero car, if you will. Mark III Supra and a car that we share, Miata.
Hell yeah.
So with all that, I would say like, what got you into cars, and like, what is that it car for you?
That's great. So my dad, I grew up. My dad and my grandpa were both into cars. They were building cars when I was little, like probably 10 or something like that. I remember my grandpa had like old Ford Thunderbirds. He had an old El Camino, and I still remember to the El Camino that I could fit behind the driver's seat and like stand up behind the
What?
driver's seat. Like,
Sheesh.
okay, that's not safe, right?
You were either young or super skinny.
Yeah, I think maybe both, but yeah, it's a weird thing to think. How much space is behind a driver's seat?
It's
And
not
much.
much.
Not much.
Not much.
Because they're bench seats too, right?
It probably was a bench seat.
I don't know how you fit back
No,
there.
I don't either.
That's crazy.
But and then my dad and my grandpa had a really interesting project when I was younger. It was a fiberglass body of they called it a cheetah, which was I'm trying to remember the manufacturer name of it, but it was, they found this fiberglass body in a backyard of somebody, and they built this project car on a chassis of a 57 Chevy, I believe. And it was like a hodgepodge of a lot of different parts. It had like taillights from an old Corvette. It had a windshield from I think he said it was like did Studebaker make a pickup truck ever?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
they
like
did.
a windshield of a Studebaker flipped upside down and backwards or something. I have photos of it, but they did body work. They did, it was had a 327 Chevy engine in
Okay.
it.
Simple small block.
Small block.
Yeah, small block. And if you look up Cheetah like race car, you'll see that it was like
Is it like a Bill Thompson or something like that? Cheetah, or like wasn't it somebody's name?
it could have been.
Well, they made
It could have
trucks
been, but
from
it's
the 30s
it's
to
like
the
a
60s.
very
What's that?
Studebaker made trucks from the 30s to the 60s.
Did they?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. So
I like this Cheetah.
it had like an old, very classic, like old school, the cab of the car sat way back, really long hood, really short trunk. And
Sounds like GM.
yeah. gated, 3-speed. I mean, like in today's world, wouldn't be all that fast. But I remember my dad drag raced it once, and it did like 13s or something like that.
Mhm.
But it was such a unique car. Yep.
Chevy Cheetah.
Yeah, that's it right there.
The Chevrolet. Bill
Wow.
Thomas made it
Yeah.
popular or something.
Yeah, it was super cool. And if we would ever take it, once they did finish it, if we would ever take it, to like a cruise or something, because that's what we did back in that era. People are like, "What the hell is that thing?" Nobody knows because nobody ever had one. So that's it was all American, stuff and American muscle, and even today, um, my dad has a S10 quarter mile truck that my brother and my dad race. My dad had a Factory 5 Cobra that he
Oh
built.
wow.
He's got a shop on his property,
Hey.
Pop Shop, and
Is that where you got it from?
the shop.
Yeah, or like the thought.
I no, but kind of maybe it was in the back of my mind. Just didn't realize it. You know what I mean? But he actually sold the Factory 5 Cobra. I drove that car a few times, and I did autocross it once, which was fun. And he sold that and bought a 50, I want to say maybe like a 56 Chevrolet pickup. The big bubble flares and everything like that.
C10?
C10.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's
Hell
C10.
Yep.
So
Your dad sounds like a cool guy.
he's a cool guy. I drove that car. I was like, I drove it last time I was there and visiting in St. Louis, and I was like, you all need to go through this suspension shit because this thing is not right. And so we got underneath it, and it's like it was a little bit of a hodgepodge of like leaf springs and the what do you call it, the drop links and all
Oh, okay.
all that,
Yeah,
all
drop
that.
link. Oh,
And
oof.
it was like riding on it was not set up well. It's beautiful. It was a beautiful truck, but
Just didn't
like
ride well.
no, and so so that's what he has now in the S10. So to make a long story short, so yeah, my dad, and my grandpa were always into cars, and that's how. But I never really got into the American muscle sort of stuff. They're all into. He was into that, and but I guess my first sort of really dive into cars was my first car was a Ford LTD2. So a hand me down Ford LT. But I started modding that thing immediately when I was 16. Yeah, it was a cop car basically.
For those that don't know, that's like the car in what's that? The heat is on. What is that?
So
Beverly Hills Cop.
So if you picture the two,
Yeah.
but if you picture the two-door Ford Thunderbird of that era, like the 70s, that was basically the same.
Yeah.
Is it Ford Thunderbird? Is that right? I think that's right. But basically, I mean, it's a giant car.
Yeah.
Like no two-door car should be that for that.
Have you seen the
Although-
Monte
I was
Carlo?
gonna say, I was gonna say, you have one in your driveway, but and then just kind of slowly, when I was young, I didn't have really great cars when I was young, and then my first probably really first cool car was a '79 Porsche 911 SC.
That's a pretty cool first.
That was
cool car.
But I was
Fancy.
I was like 30 years old or whatever it was. So it took a little time, but
Air cooled Ryan over here.
yeah, exactly. Great car, but I did sell that because I wanted to start tracking more, autocrossing more, and then I realized like that car, an engine rebuild would cost more than that car was worth at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And I
At the
was like,
time.
yeah, at that time. Okay, so I don't remember exactly what year that was, but I sold that car for like 11,000, and you could
Sheesh.
look up what a 79 911 is worth right now, and it's like
Challenge
probably
I don't even want
accepted.
to
30 or something like that.
Yeah, it's 5
Dude.
times that now.
Gorgeous car. It's an experience to drive those cars, just like the smells and the sounds. And I always laugh at one thing about those cars is that if you ever, and I owned that car when I lived in Portland, if you ever want to try to keep a maintain any sort of like comfortable climate in that car, they use the they had a heater box that was basically that was wrapped around the headers to that would control the heat for the cabin,
Mm-hmm.
and you would use levers to open and close these boxes. I mean, you
Really?
felt like you were in an airplane, like trying to, fine tune adjustments just to try to get the humidity down and the heat and,
Yeah.
like all
That's
these things.
interesting.
Yeah, they're like little red, levers that you would open and close for
Just right there in the center console.
yeah, in center console. I'll never forget that.
Interesting.
And so I sold that, and I test drove a NA Miata back then, and I didn't.
Best Miata ever.
Yeah, I mean that was the start of, like, you know, uh, all I had to do was go around the parking lot at any sort of like quick speed, and you're like, holy crap, this
This is fast.
it's fast. It's a go kart. You know what I mean? So
It's a
Yes,
go-kart.
it is a go kart.
It's a go-kart.
It is a go kart. For anyone that has never driven a Miata, I recommend you drive an NA. NB is still nice. NA is my favorite
yeah,
by far.
Yeah.
Same.
But yeah.
yeah, I agree. I mean, put some sticky 195 tires on it, and you're like, you have a great car. But then, you start going down the rabbit hole of
Modding.
modding and how much grip you want, how fast you want to go, and
Yeah.
so I had I had that NA Miata for 9 years. That's the longest I've ever owned a car before, and I took it. I went, ended up, I had a great community back in Portland. Shout out to my Portland friends that a couple of guys that really knew how to wrench, and I don't probably have the skills that you guys have as far as, like, wrenching and fabricating and all that kind of stuff. So, but I had a
I'm
great
making
time.
it up as I go.
Yeah. I had a great time with that car and those guys, and we did a VVT swap and supercharged it and great suspension, and that's when I started really getting into, like, more track stuff, and I did bring that car down here, and I ended up selling it, at some point. But
Did you
now
sell
I'm
it
back.
at the peak?
I sold it for like 14 or no, 12, I think. I think I sold it for 12, which was probably good money at that time. That was probably
Let's
4
see.
years ago.
I was
or
about to
so.
say, was that like early 2020, 2020?
Probably, yeah. It was
Okay.
right before
Yeah,
before
yeah,
COVID.
You sold it at a good point. That's
Yeah,
when I
for
sold
sure.
mine.
And what's funny is it went back to the
Really?
Northwest. Yeah.
To
And,
Portland or just that
Nice.
area?
he was
like
actually in just north of Portland, in like I forget which town he was in Washington. But he actually just recently sold. He reached out to me and asked. He's like, "Do you want to buy that car?" And I was like, "Just for the nostalgia, I really thought about it." But I
That'd
already
be
have
sick.
another, Miata that was building. I was like, "Do I really want to go to do that all again and then pay more than I sold it for and ship it and all that stuff?"
That's true. Or you could have just drove it down.
I could.
That'd be
No,
nostalgic.
I'm too old for that. And driving, you know how many miles and days that would have been to drive and fix bucket
Yeah, a
seats
Miata
with-
too.
Yeah,
Oh,
a tin
man.
can. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But so I don't know how much you want to go through car progression, but I had that, sold that, and then I had other cars before in my what I like to call my previous life with 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 my ex, but I had a few Porsches, and then but the Miata was always like my passion car, and or as far as like my track car, I love to drive. I love to drive on track. We always say we want to do it more and more, but life gets in the way. And,
Right.
Oh yeah.
So, but now I have an NC Miata now, which I bought it with some good parts on it. Kind of started as a track build, but I'm kind of progressing it a little bit more, and now I've just been trying to do more, do more driving with that car. They're just great at what they do.
Yeah.
I love going to the track and beating up on much more expensive, much more faster
half
cars.
the price.
Half. I mean, geez, spend enough time on the track, and these guys are coming out with hundred or $200,000 cars. You know, it's like, not that I can keep up with all the depending on the track, but I just, it's a great car to hone your driving skills.
For sure.
It's a great seat time car for sure.
Yeah.
With anything.
A great seat
That's
time
what
car.
Taylor Ray does it.
Mm-hmm.
Or he did it for a while at least.
Yeah, and it's a car that if you do something stupid, you can write it off. You can walk away from it, and it won't necessarily be, the end of the day.
It's not a GT3 RS.
It's not a GT3. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Porsche fan through and through. I had my last Porsche was a 718 Cayman GTS.
Okay.
It was the 4-cylinder turbo. So not what, looking back, and they got away with I think they stepped away from doing that on the higher end Caymans. I think maybe the lower end Caymans are still using those, but like the GTS, they're back to a 4-liter, inline 6. But that was a great car. So, but yeah, like you say, those are expensive cars. I can push this car as hard as I want. I'm typically like kind of an 8 to 9/10 driver. I don't really push
full
it to
10/10.
No, I don't really. I'd like to drive my car. Well, now I have a trailer. I can trailer it back and forth because our tracks are 2.5 hours.
Right.
Oof, yeah.
From
We're gonna get your seat time's worth.
Yeah.
So that's I guess a question I have now.
Yeah.
That you have. How long have you been at the tracks? Like, how much experience do you have at the track, and what tracks do you regularly visit in Florida? Because as you're saying this, I'm like, man, every track is like an hour, 2 hours away from us. So,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
for autocrossing,
the
anyway.
two. Well, okay. So, autocross. During COVID, or pre-COVID, there was the Fast group. Shout out to Fast. That was, pretty predominant group. And I made contact even before, because I was like, oh, I'm moving to Tampa. I want to know, what groups out there, who's driving and stuff. And they were around for a long time. And they used to autocross at the Brooksville Airport and a couple other venues. And actually at the Tampa racetrack? It's like in downtown Tampa. It was like a Greyhound track or something like that. But anyway, but their main venue was the Brooksville Airstrip, which is basically like down and back, and you make a course.
I've heard of people doing the Brooksville stuff. Yeah.
Well, during COVID, things happened. That airport, they lost that venue. The airport basically took back over that area of the and they were like, we need to start deconstructing planes or taking planes apart. Yeah. So unfortunately, I made a lot of great friends in that group, and that organization, after that venue, it all shut down. So I haven't autocrossed since pre-COVID. That kind of got me back into going to track. I mean, if I'm going to drive 2.5 hours, I want more than 2 minutes of seat time, because that's kind of what you get with an autocross. So I've been going to the firm, which is up in Stark, Florida, Florida International Raceway. And I got a side note about that because they just lost basically half their track. And then there's Sebring, and then there's Daytona. I've been Sebring once with the 370Z that I had.
I didn't tell you about Ryan's 370Z.
You didn't. I didn't even know he had a 370.
He had a very nice 370Z.
That was a nice setup 370Z. Yes, I do kind of miss that car a little bit.
It was very nice.
Was it track setup? Is that what?
Yeah, it was track setup. It was my neighbor had that. I briefly was in an apartment in Lutz, and I looked over and I was like, actually, that's when I was selling the Miata, and I was like, the NA Miata, and I was like, that's a good looking car over there. So I was like, he's like, yeah, I'm selling it. So bought that, put a bunch of nice parts on it, KW, coilovers, nice diff. It swapped. It was a base model. Swapped over the Ikubono, Nismo brakes, and really made it a nice, I've always tried to find or balance that fine line between a dual purpose car, like a street car and a track car. That's a very hard thing to do because
Yes, it is.
it's always a compromise on one way or the other, right?
Always.
But I like that challenge, you know, of doing that. But that was a great car. One thing I always disliked about that car, and you would have that in. So that's the one car I tracked at Sebring. I boiled the clutch fluid. Those things always run hot, right?
Yeah.
That the VQ engines run hot. Probably should have had high temp clutch fluid in it, but I was going around and the clutch went to the floor and didn't come back up, and just ended up putting it on the trailer, and that was it. But I had a great time with a buddy of mine, Andy. I was chasing him in a E46 LS swap BMW E46, and he's a great driver, and he and I had a great time. The only time I've been to Sebring. Would love to go back. And then trying to think where I was going. Oh, and then Stark at the firm. That's the. I highly recommend that track, just especially if you're like new at or if you want to get into tracking, because it's just a laid back atmosphere. You can get plenty of seat time. It's there's plenty of runoff in most areas. It's not super high speed, but just recently, unfortunately, that track, there's an airport right next to it. Just like a small, I don't know what you call it, like a municipal airport.
Yeah, municipal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just signed up for 8 or 9 events for this year, for this track with another group. Are you guys familiar with the Obsessed Garage?
Yeah.
Guys?
Yeah, Matt Mormon.
Yeah, Matt Mormon. He coordinated a 9 event schedule for this year. And he was like, I don't know that page all that well. I don't follow it all that well, but I'm on it every once in a while. He's like, I'm trying to get back. He's like, I want to start driving more. I want to start getting back on track. Looking for local guys that want to join in on these private track days. 9 events, pay ahead, and you'll get plenty of seat time. I'm like, sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it came out to like $140 a track day, which is
not bad.
That's great,
not bad at
right?
all. Usually to register you need 150.
Yeah, I mean, normal track days for that track is like 250, 275, something like that. So I registered, and we did one in January, and then the firm sends out an email, says they shared a graphic. A third of that track, they found out through the FAA or whatever, found out that is part of a flight path. And you can't... This track has been open for, I don't know, 10
It's
plus
been a
years.
long time.
Yeah, 10 plus years. And all of a sudden they're like, we're going to cut off the funnest part of that track. You can no longer drive on this. And they're like, well, we've been doing this forever. And they're like, now it's on our dime. They can't go to the airport. They can't go to anybody. And so that track is basically, shut down for now. So we're all hoping, because we all hear these horror stories of tracks just getting shut down left and right,
Especially over the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. So the last thing we want to do is just jump ship and like, oh, well, good luck. We want them to, continue to, hell, put a GoFundMe up,
Something.
or whatever it is. So we're hoping that maybe with this comes maybe an improvement of the track, or just at least, something. They do rallycross there. They do, off-roading. They do like police training. They do all kinds of stuff over there. But it's just a great, like, it feels like just like your local, sort of laid back track, and you can get plenty of seat time and stuff. So that's where, I've been going to a lot, and
I've never been there, and I've been wanting to go, but because
everybody
I talk to, they love that track. I have not heard about that recent FAA.
Yeah, it was just within the last 2 weeks, and I was like,
oh my goodness.
damn.
Another. I'm so heartbroken.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Irwindale closed down, like in California. That's like
yeah.
the last track I heard of. But
Well,
there's
there
so
was
many
Palm
tracks that.
Beach. Was it Palm Beach Raceway that was gonna get sold, and then somebody local just picked it up, like
I,
another
was
somebody
that
else
Palm
that
Beach?
owns another
I can't. I know there was one track that like
is
they
that
just opened it up to the
TBIR,
public
right?
or something to bid. There's no like
Yeah,
asking price. Is that the same one
I
you're
think it
talking
might
about?
have been that one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I think somebody is picking that up, and then so we need people to you know hopefully keep these tracks alive, and you know keep spaces open for people to
Yeah.
keep doing this. So
Because
I don't know
Cletus
if I
can
answered
only.
your question because I kind of went on a bit
No,
of
you're good. You're good.
a tangent. So
I'm focused now on the heartbreak of all
I
these
know, I know.
racetracks closing, man. There's
Hopefully,
so many.
my mom, I didn't always subscribe to this, but my mom's like, everything happens for a reason. So we're hoping that, something
Yeah.
comes out on the,
Hey,
on the bonus for on the
Cletus just
Pleasant.
got onto the Bradenton
I
Speedway.
saw
He
that.
owns half of it now.
That's awesome.
So hopefully he just
Him
keeps
and
expanding.
what's the other guy too, right? Isn't it like a joint venture?
Yeah,
Well,
the Spanish
Victor,
kind
dude.
of thing?
Victor,
and
Victor,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah. I think
He owned it already.
Yeah, he owned it already.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I guess they're 50-50 partners,
Yeah.
and the success of Cletus and his YouTube. I mean, that guy's just. I've never met him. I mean, I think we all really respect him, but I mean,
Absolutely.
his investment probably into that track is probably going to take that track to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And he's doing things in motorsport that I just he's
Yes.
changing the game.
It's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it's great. And
would
it's
say.
great that we're so close.
Yeah.
Most
Absolutely.
importantly, he has a motorcycle.
Hey, this is
Yeah, the Suzuki GS
Who
1000,
does?
1000.
Is it a GS?
It's a GS.
Victor?
No,
or,
it's a
or
GS,
Cletus?
but
No, Cletus.
Oh, Cletus.
He has a GS that like he has no idea what to do with, or
I've
I
never
reached-
seen him.
I reached out to him because
I
we
want to
sell
buy
a
that
lot of,
bike so bad.
we sell a lot of parts for that bike at my job, and I
Yeah.
reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, if you need anything," I never got a response back.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Cletus, if you're watching,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can hook you up with some parts. Let me know.
Exactly.
We can be your sponsor.
Or if you want to sell it, let me know.
Yeah, yeah.
I will buy it.
I know Squirrel's the main one working on that. but-
Exactly.
To kind of go, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Mm-hmm.
but to go back a little bit about the garage builds and everything. I don't know if you've seen the sort of video series that he's doing for his hangar and house.
No.
Oh my God!
In-house hangar.
Well, no, so he's building a
Hangar
house and a
and
house.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember the numbers, but he's doing the last time I saw they were erecting it's a red iron build for the hangar. I don't it's probably I don't know how many square feet, maybe 6,000 8,000 square feet or something like that. But he's been doing a video installment of his custom home and hangar build, and so check it out. Him and his camera guy, I forget who his right hand man is.
Squirrel.
Yeah, Squirrel.
Yeah.
They've been pouring every step that they've been doing on the build. They want to get their hands dirty. They want to be part of it. They're erecting the giant side support beams and pouring concrete and they were laying block. It's like they wanted to. Well, he does it for content too, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's fun to watch.
It
so that part I thought was fun too, because a little bit more about my career side of it. But yeah, check out his video series, and I'm assuming it's on his normal channel, but I think maybe it's on a different channel, but it's maybe getting a little lost into the regular car.
I know he
Yeah.
announced that he was getting a house to move closer ever since all the neighborhoods came and everything. And all
Yeah,
that. But
that whole area,
Yeah.
it's just booming. And they're getting a lot of pushback from the neighborhoods and for sound ordinances and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
and I thought they were signing some kind of that neighborhood was going to be signing some kind of agreement that there's a track, so they can't really complain about it.
And I've also
But
heard, I wouldn't, and I wish I knew a little bit more about that, and I probably should. They were trying to come up with an idea for one of these communities that's the closest, I think possibly the closest to the track, that was all houses that would basically be motorsport enthusiast houses, so they wouldn't have a problem with the noise, and they
right.
also were building out houses with like extra garage space and stuff.
That's nice. What the Motor Enclave could have been.
So
Right.
that's actually one of my questions for you.
We can talk about that too.
I want to know your opinions on the
Shut,
Motor
shut,
Enclave
shut, 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 shut.
since it's your like kind of wheelhouse.
Well, I had a listing. I had a listing there for some
Okay.
owners there that
Ah.
that had that, and
Tea, eh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I probably should be a little bit careful about any information I give. As far as
Yeah, we don't have to go too deep.
confidentiality, but
What up, what up, what up? It's your boy PA from the Cafe Moto podcast, and I wanted to take a quick second and say thank you to everyone that has been watching this video. It's not done yet. We got a ways to go, but real quick, I wanted to show you guys some of the merch we've been working on. We've got the Anti-Podcast Podcast Club shirt with the Cafe Moto podcast on the front. Something simple, but everyone will get it. And then we've got my favorite, and that is this one right here, the TV off Cafe Moto podcast shirt. Also got these hats right here. This one's the black. We've also got the vanilla camo, and we've also got the chocolate camo. These hats are stitched on. They are not glued on, and that is something that we worked really hard on trying to find someone that can do that. So that way it's a high quality hat, high quality shirt, high quality merch, high quality podcast. Thank you for everything. It's your boy PA. Take it easy. All right. It looks like both are recording. Cool,
Check,
cool,
check, check.
cool.
Cool.
All right. So, with this being said, since we've been talking about the Motor Enclave and in spirit of the Motor Enclave, if you had Motor Enclave money, what vehicle would you go with, sir?
all right. So I think we're kind of basically it's going to be a Porsche. It's going to be probably, if not a Porsche GT3 RS, because like I said, I think in this generation, it has taken it to a whole nother level. This is basically a race car for the street.
Yeah.
We talked about like the things that you can adjust on this car
Right.
in real time, the diff settings, the suspension. Cars have had suspension setting change it,
Yeah.
you can change suspension settings on the fly, but to be able to change deceleration and acceleration changes on a diff setting on the steering wheel is a whole nother level. It's so wild. So that would be, for me, that's not a street car. That is if all you're doing is driving that car on the street, it's a huge disservice to this car, what it's capable of.
Absolutely.
So I might just take just a regular peasant spec GT3.
Oh,
Peasant spec.
And I don't think I need to go much more exotic on cars,
I respect that.
than that, honestly.
More exotic. Ford GT. Ford GT has definitely got to be
The latest generation.
The latest gen Ford GT. I mean, I respect them all, honestly, but yeah, the latest gen for sure would be my car that I would have to go with. And I'm not a huge Ford fan at all by any means, but like, I mean, I've had some Ford products. I've only had Mustangs though. Before I've had a Fox body, I've had an S197, I've had an SN95. So yeah, I've only had Mustangs through Ford. Now that I think about it, but yeah, I would go with the Ford GT for sure. performance
What are
wise
those going
too.
for these days? Any idea?
Fuck you, money is what they're going for.
Is it like $2 million or something like that?
Yeah, motor enclave money.
Yeah,
That's
motor
all.
enclave
deal.
money.
No
That's
big deal.
all. It's
Yeah.
it's enough to justify having a condo
On
office
a racetrack.
Yeah.
on a racetrack.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say.
I think that's a
Yeah.
great car. I think those are, I'm not sure that there's a love for the twin turbo V6, V6 or inline six. I think it's a V6, but I mean it's basically an EcoBoost,
Yeah.
Eco-
a
Boost,
form
yeah.
of the EcoBoost.
Maybe
motor.
like Barra swap it. Have you heard?
That would be
Have
What
you
is
heard
it?
about those? The Barra
The
engines.
Ford Barras. That would be the only Ford
It's the
I would fuck with.
Australian, like
What is
Australian 2J, essentially.
Really?
Australian 2Js.
Yeah, it's
Those-
a badass.
Out of what
engine.
car? What is that? I mean,
They came in like Australia only.
Yeah,
And
I don't know what car they came out of
That's
in
so
general
wild.
over there, but like, it's a wild boy.
okay, so
Yeah.
you're not going to take a
And
$2
it's-
million car and do a motor swap on it. I'm just
I mean, I would do it
Hell
because I have fuck you
F
money.
money. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would do it, or even like,
You pull up to a Cars and Coffee and you're like, what the hell did this guy do?
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that'd be it.
I
That'd
think
be it.
was our Skeeter episode. We talked about taking a Ford GT and putting a turbo diesel in it.
No, it was an F40.
Oh, the F40 and putting a turbo diesel in it.
Yeah, and I was like F4D. Yeah, it was an F40.
Yeah, but the Barra motors are, they sound
Oh, yeah,
so
they'll look-
good.
I'll
They
look
sound
this
like
up.
the chop of a V8, but they're inline six.
Hmm.
And they're Ford's like I said, like he said, it's Ford's
2J.
2J.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
That's
they,
wild.
they sound crazy. The first time I heard one was at Cletus's event,
Oh, really?
and there was a Supra with a Barra swap,
Okay.
and it sounded so damn
Yeah,
good.
I'll have to look this up. I've never heard of
Barra,
Yeah.
right? Two R's.
I think so.
it. Okay.
I think so. Definitely got to look that up. What would yours be?
So Porsche. You're a Porsche guy.
Hell yeah.
I'd go with the 918 Spider.
Mm-hmm.
Saw one of those at Barber Motorsports in in Alabama, in Birmingham.
Yes. Gorgeous car.
Gorgeous, but if I was to go with a peasant spec, I'd probably go like a Club Sport. I like the Club Sports because you still get some of the amenities of the street,
Mm-hmm.
but you still get like a roll cage and things
Yeah.
like that. I like
Yeah.
the way that Porsche does that. They're
Yeah.
different tiers, but
That's the thing is that they'll take one, I mean, just take the 911. How many different variations have they done on a 911?
That
Right.
one.
it's almost
that
like
two.
Harley where they have Dynaglide, Street Glide, Electric Glide.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hey, now, not too much on Harley. All right. Still a Harley guy.
Hey,
I don't own a Harley anymore.
No,
but
I don't.
Still a Harley guy.
I don't hate on them, but
Yeah.
they had a lot of variations. Is
Yeah,
what I'm
That's
getting
true. That's true. That is very true. So on the opposite end of that, with the fuck you money,
Mm-hmm.
let's get tamed back to reality and put a 10K, which we might have to like up this to like 12 to 15
10K
due to
doesn't
inflation.
go very far anymore.
Yeah,
Not
that's why we do the question. So like,
Yeah.
and it forces people to think like, man, what could I buy for 10K or what could I buy for less than 10K and
Mhm.
build?
Mm-hmm.
at. It's hard these
And-
days.
Yeah, so we'll up it and do 15.
Ooh.
Oh, that made
Give
my
me
that
another.
made my decision even easier, honestly. But that's the thing is that like I've got a 15-year-old, that's ready to start driving. And like a 10K car is like a piece of
Yeah,
it's a project
Yeah.
car. It's almost like a piece of garbage at this point. It's like 100,000 miles, and it's like, do you want a project car for a 15-year-old? Maybe you could argue that it would be good for them to, learn how to work on cars and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, 10K doesn't
learn the
go.
value of a dollar and stuff.
Yeah, but so for me to answer on a 10 to 15, 10 to
10 to
15.
15, 10 to 15.
Well, like I was saying, I was hard shopping C5 Z06s for a while. That's not a $10,000 or $15,000 car. That's probably an upper $20,000 car. But I've never had a Corvette. Kind of never really considered myself a Corvette guy. But don't get me wrong, I've autocrossed and been on track with these cars, and I've been amazed of how a C5 Z06 can go around an autocross course. You put like a 315 square setup on it, and these things change direction like you wouldn't believe, you know.
Yeah.
And there are people like, oh, it's like a Miata with 400, 400 horsepower or whatever.
A Miata with 400 horsepower is dangerous.
Yeah. So I've been looking at those a lot, and I really like the styling of those. But if you had to go less, you had a less budget, I've been looking at C4 Corvettes, and did some deep dives on C4 Corvette. It seems like the 1996. It's an LT4 engine. It's got the earlier C4s were like 200 horsepower, something like that, 220 horsepower, and by the time that generation finished, they were like at the 330 horsepower.
Yeah.
So they weren't the dogs that they started. And don't get me wrong, I like that 80s or 90s digital dash of the C4s where they had the tack and everything was like it was like Knight Rider, from but the later, they got more refined, they got more horsepower. And they got away with some of those, probably those dashes that probably failed over time, or they would probably be really hard to repair or fix. So either maybe a C4 Corvette or maybe another. I've got an NC Miata that has a removable hardtop, but a power retractable hardtop. Easy cruiser, like that generation of Miata I think that would be fun too. There's all kinds of stuff that you could go to, but those kind of things stick out to me. Or possibly a Lexus. A Lexus LS, like a 400 or a 430,
big body Lexus.
Yeah.
I just saw today.
Is that your Lexus out there?
That is.
Okay.
I just saw today someone customized an LS 400.
Hell yeah.
Made it a wagon, and I fell.
Oh, the black one.
Yeah, you saw my story.
No, well, someone else posted it, but yeah,
I posted it today because I saw that and I fell in love. Big body wagon.
Yeah, big wagon guy here.
I could see pulling up, showing some houses on a dropped, slammed LS.
This guy gets it.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are cool.
Man, 10K car. Easiest answer would be Miata. Miata's always the answer. C5 Corvette is a very big answer, but I will say a car that could get it done for under 10K. Well, since we moved it to 15, I would have to say Mark III Supra. 7M GTE. Manny got to ride in Billy's Supra.
Okay.
Shout out to Billy Built.
Billy Built.
I
he got to ride in his
today. That was really good.
Yeah, and he fell in love with it.
Yeah,
and it's a car that like I said, but the Miata and the Supra, like I fell in love with the Mark III specifically and the NA Miata specifically. I fell in love with both of them kind of at the same time, both the same color, white. So yeah, I would say the Supra. I would say the Supra for sure. That's the one car that like Miata I was able to get that right. Z32 I was able to get that right. The Supra is the only car that has eluded me, and I've bought another one, but like it came time to buy a house or do this or I joined the military. It's like I just kept having to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Every time I got one. So yeah, I'd probably finally get the Supra done and done right. So,
do we lose it? We good?
No, looks like we're good.
Let me if I can ask you a question. You got Miatas, or you're into Miatas. You're into driving slow cars fast.
Yeah.
Maybe you're more into slow cars fast than fast cars slow. What would it take for you to come out to a track day and take one of your cars out and?
One of the cars I currently have, or just
Or
well, I have the perfect track car now, Evo 4.
Let's do it.
That's a great autocross car.
Yeah, and that was kind of the plan, is like to see what it does on an autocross track. Yeah. But I'm in the middle of getting it body worked ready for wrap.
Okay.
Nothing crazy, just
Yeah, yeah,
wrapped. So I
yeah.
want to get it wrapped, and then I want to get it tuned, and I'm down.
You know, none
I'm
of
down to
that.
take it
You
out.
don't need none of that to get on track. By the way.
Sure don't.
That's true.
Sure don't.
That is true. But like, there's a million bolts off of this thing right now. Like the wing has no bolts. It's literally just being held on with
Nice.
the double sided tape
Nice.
from '97.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if
So-
you. I know you're not. It seems like you're not super on Facebook and on social media all that much, or maybe we're just
I'm on it, but I'm on it for marketplace.
okay. Oh, for
Mainly.
Makes sense. Last time I did Armature Works right just by the
Okay.
river, I had
Yeah.
a buddy and client of mine that brought his imported Evo 5, and he parked it next to my booth, and it's like
Nice.
a clean, totally clean stock. I think that's a right hand. It has to be
Yeah,
a right hand
right-hand
drive.
drive.
Yeah, Evo over, and he's trying to sell it right now because he wants to sell that and buy. I think it's the Tommy Mackinnon.
Tommy Mackinnon.
Is that a 5.5 or 6 or whatever? it is?
Yeah, they got like 5.5, 6.5.
Yeah. It's white too. It's gorgeous.
Is his Evo 5 white?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
my Evo 4 is white,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be white for long. I'm not going to tell.
Ah.
There's a few people that know what the color is. I'll tell you off air, but like I'm not.
White
gonna
is right
tell.
though. I mean, I love
Yeah,
white cars.
but my chaser's white,
Mm.
and the Evo this Evo needs work.
Is it yellow?
So
It's gonna be yellow. right?
no, it's not gonna be yellow. Not gonna be yellow. It's gonna be.
Red.
It's not gonna be an Evo color,
Okay.
a factory Evo
Okay.
color at all. It'll
Yeah.
be a different manufacturer's color.
Very
So-
cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be fun. So right now, like I said, doing all the body work for it, and most of it's done. I want to say I'm like 90%
Mhm.
there. I just
you
really need
wrapping
to
it
get
yourself?
that. Yep. Yep.
I think wrapping. It seems like
It's
one of the
tedious
hardest
for
things.
sure.
Seriously.
But my old neighbor and then another neighbor, he's like the next street over. Shout out to you, Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Mason helped me wrap it last time, and he has a Mark V Supra
Mm.
and a E36 M3 track coupe.
Nice.
We have to get him up here
Oh,
at
yeah.
some point. But and he does like tech inspections
Okay.
Yeah,
for
we're definitely gonna get them up here.
yeah.
Have
But
him look over your car before you.
yeah, he's
Make sure there's no
gonna
loose bolts on there.
he's gonna help me wrap it again. And then like I said, my old neighbor, he does like signage and wrapping and stuff
Cool.
like as an actual like career
Hell
thing.
yeah.
So I think I'm in good hands.
Yeah,
I'm down to help too.
Yeah, but I have the color and everything down there, so you can see it
Yeah.
whenever
It's
we
good.
wrap this up.
It's a good
Yeah.
color.
Yeah, it's a good color. It's a color that like I've only seen one other Evo have, but it wasn't an Evo 4,
Yeah.
and it is not in the U.S.
Cool.
So
My Miata's getting wrapped as we speak. I dropped it off at Spinny Whoosh. Spinny Whoosh Graphics. Scotty
Nice.
Simpson, a buddy of mine. Give him a shout out because he does a lot of stuff for the Miata community. I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody that has a Miata probably knows about him, but he's going
Green
to
tea
do
Miata.
yeah, he did the green tea. He actually sold his Miata. He had a ND. He had an NA,
Mhm.
which was an amazing car.
yeah, that's the one I
K-swap.
remember.
Turboed. It caught fire and burned to the ground, like a half mile from his house.
How long ago was it? 2024.
Yeah, just like probably
The year
within
of the fires.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
year of the fires.
So I mean, that car was flares. The fastback. Who made that? I think the guy from Greece that makes
covers?
those-
Yeah, I know what you're talking
those
about.
fastback.
And then he had
hardtops.
a 32 4-door Skyline. I remember.
Well, that's Ryan. That's Ryan Kitts. That's a buddy of his that he
okay,
did the wrap for
okay.
that one too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's another. He's a Miata guy. He has a Miata again. And so yeah, those two guys are like really close. Ryan used to work for Scotty. Now Ryan is part of the Boosted Boys YouTube But yeah, Scotty's doing a wrap for mine, and it's gonna be a company branded sort of thing, you know. So doing a full wrap, and a couple of other part sponsors are joining on, and to add some parts and stuff like that. So that's gonna be fun. But
Okay. Definitely can't wait
it's
to
gonna look
see
like
it.
a little race car, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
That's what's up. I think we're on you, Manny.
Oh, what build is this? The million?
I think this is the 10K.
Oh, the 10K,
Yeah,
10K,
10K.
10K. 15K.
Yeah,
10
10,
to
15.
15.
Yeah.
10 to 15.
Well, if you do 10, then you have 5,000 of mods.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
So, originally, when you guys started talking about C5s and C4s, I have saved on my marketplace a drift ready chassis of a C6. And it's just a shell, but it's got a cage. And you know I'm a big drift guy.
Are you? Okay.
So I would take that. It's like 2,500. I'd lowball them for 2K.
I don't know if that's really a low ball.
Listen,
I think a low ball would be like 15.
yeah, all right.
Take
so I'd
1,000
start
off
at
the
15.
top.
But if
Before
that
even
doesn't
see
even
it.
have an engine in it.
It
does
doesn't have anything. It doesn't have seats, nothing. It's got an angle kit still in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd take that, or I was thinking about taking that, get a junkyard motor, just do up what I can, and get on the track. Until you said my favorite word, Lexus. And I'm going to go LS400,
Okay.
slammed on its nuts, and I'm going to build that thing out for 15K. Nice sound system, slammed. Already got the 1UZ. Probably freshen that up, see what I can do.
Yeah. I've never even driven one or ridden in one, so I don't.
They're just
they look.
couches.
I've watched
They're
reviews
boats.
and yeah,
Couches.
they're so fun.
Yeah. You just.
I think with the
sit
C6,
back
I was
and
thinking
enjoy the
about
ride.
even with the C6, I was thinking about I got a cousin who works at Toyota. I can get some 2JZ heads and blocks and everything for cheap.
Yeah.
Just Toyota swap the Corvette, but still. Not as soon as you said Lexus,
I want one
Opens the
too.
floodgates.
I'm going LS400.
I want it
Absolutely.
slammed on its nuts, but I want it to ride well too. So I don't know if you can do both.
Put on there.
Put it on
Or
there.
get a crown.
Yeah.
Or get a crown, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would get it. I would love a crown. However,
Shout out Oki.
yeah,
Beautiful crown.
I'm definitely going LS400 on that
All right.
15K build because for 15K, I'm seeing LS400s go for like $2,500.
Is the 430
Oh,
any
yeah.
good? Like, can you do a 430?
Yeah. You have a little bit more difficulties, a little bit more technology you got to get around.
I feel like the interior is better.
Is it like
The interior is super
way
nice.
much better. Way better, right?
Yeah.
Is it
I
like
have-
a CAN bus car? Or
I think it is, but you still have to break into the system because
Wiring Specialties has like a CAN bus like modulator that like talks to the different CAN signals. I ran into CAN stuff whenever I was dealing with the RX-8, which is essentially a rotary NC.
and you got the wiring specialties.
I did not get it.
Oh.
I just went through Seth at Rifttune to do a lot of stuff because I deleted way more stuff on that engine than I should have. But I came across the CAN bus thing.
Wiring specialties knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're involved in a lot of.
This is
high-end
dangerous
builds.
because I'm going to be on Facebook Marketplace tonight. Looking at all these cars. Like,
Facebook Marketplace is very dangerous.
It's
very
super
dangerous.
I know.
Oh man, but LS400,
yeah,
oh, it's going down.
I want one too.
That's one of
Agree with
my cars. If I have left over, depending on what I do to it, I'm gonna try to make that thing a wagon like
Like that video.
like
Or
that,
that
How would you
picture,
do
concept.
that?
yeah.
I don't even know.
I
Just
don't
get
even
some
know if
sheet
you
metal
would
and weld it.
if you
Just a
would
bunch of sheet metal.
lengthen it because it's
No,
already
it's
a long
super.
car.
It's a boat.
Yeah, but I mean that trunk. I mean it's. I don't know. You have to lengthen it,
It's a boat. You can
It
fit.
is.
You can fit 415s
or you
and
shorten
a golf
the
bag
front.
in the back.
415.
You can fit 415s and a golf bag.
That's how big you can tell a car is by how many speakers it can take.
Speaking of wagons, and I won't go down this, road too far, but I just reshared a post of a 2014 AMG 63 wagon. Those are so, I think those are so super cool. It's a 2014. It's for sale for like 48,000. But I
Those
had
things are sick.
they're so cool. I'm always a wagon fan. I had an E350 Mercedes some years back, and but that biturbo V8 from Mercedes of that generation is just super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they're more rare than like a Lamborghini,
Yeah.
or a Ferrari. Like they don't make a lot of those. And there's
Our first episode, I said my fuck you money car would be
Yeah.
what was it, the Evo 190, or was it
Oh,
the
you're talking about the
190
190E? Yeah.
oh yeah
The-
Yeah.
yeah
the
like the
Mercedes?
touring car era.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I have a buddy who works for Siemens Energy, and he goes to their headquarters in Germany, and he will just literally send me videos and pictures of wagons on the street that
Yeah.
they make over there that they've never sold here,
Right.
and it's all just the most beautiful BMW
Yeah.
and Mercedes
That's how
wagons.
it is.
Ah,
You could start
That's
importing
how
them.
it is. That's how it is. So it's definitely been fun having you on the podcast. I would say in
Absolutely.
like
Had a great time.
60 seconds or less, what would you say to the people that are interested in getting a home or getting a garage with a home attached? What'd you say to them?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you the hard sell, but just contact me if you want to, if you're curious about what's out there for big garage homes, or if you need some space to put your toys in, give me a call.
Yeah.
And that's about it, and I'm a car guy, obviously. Hopefully I communicated that well today. Even though we didn't get into it, I did buy a Tesla. We won't talk about that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, this drive from here to work every day, I kind of wish I had one.
I'm telling you, 11.3 and a quarter mile. I mean, don't have to go to the gas station, and you walk in your garage and you plug it in. There's a lot to be said. So, but nevertheless, that's about it, really. I appreciate you guys having me over here. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you.
Cool. We definitely appreciate you coming
Yeah, of
on the
course.
podcast
Yeah.
and making us these drinks that I drank way too fast.
It's tasty.
Especially since
It's
I
tasty.
have a flight in like 3 hours. It's
even
nothing.
more, even better.
Yeah, but definitely appreciate it. That's been a first. So like anyone else that
Absolutely.
comes on the podcast, you need to bring drinks.
Yes,
apparently.
yes. You have to make a better old fashioned than I did. And if you did,
Yeah, I'm telling you, good luck.
Ryan's at the top.
Good luck.
Ryan's at the top right
there.
now.
Yeah,
thanks, guys. I appreciate
for
you guys.
sure.
Oh,
But yeah, this has been the Cafe Moto podcast. Like he said, hit up Ryan if you're ever looking into some real estate, commercial too.
Commercial too, and
Okay.
also the other one other thing really quick. You don't have to necessarily be in the market for a big garage home. I get it that we're all in a progression of like buying houses and investing in our future. And if you're not, buying a big garage home, but you're buying the next home, or you're a first time home buyer and your future is a big garage home, I get it. We all have to sort of build up to it. And we are trying to just get to a point where we can buy that, that big garage goal home. And if you're a first time home buyer or whatever it is, I just like working with people that, we all share the same passion. So
Yes, sir.
Love that.
Yep. All right. We won't take too much more of your time. This has been the Cafe Moto podcast. This is your boy PA. This is Manny. This is Ryan.
yes, sir.
Take it easy.
Have a good night, y'all.
Oh, there's a fade to black on there too. Nice.